The mall's neon lights flickered like a cruel promise, casting jagged shadows on the pavement where my daughter, Lily, stood alone, her tiny hand clutching her teddy bear as tears streaked her face. I sprinted through the crowd, my heart a jackhammer in my chest, the world blurring into a kaleidoscope of panic. She was only 6, and my sister, Claire, had left her there, abandoned her like discarded baggage because I wouldn't bankroll her latest get-rich-quick scheme. It was supposed to be a quick trip. I'd asked Claire to watch Lily for an hour while I handled an emergency at work, a server crash that demanded my immediate attention as the IT manager. Claire, my younger sister by 2 years, had agreed with her usual flippant charm, tossing her blonde hair and saying, "No problem, Emma. I've got this." I should have known better. Claire's promises were as reliable as a paper umbrella in a storm. But she was my sister, and Lily adored her fun aunt. I trusted her. That was my first mistake. When I returned to the mall's entrance, expecting to see Claire and Lily sharing ice cream or giggling over some silly game, I found only chaos. A security guard stood over Lily, his radio crackling, while a small crowd murmured in pity. My daughter's wide, frightened eyes locked onto mine as I pushed through, dropping to my knees to pull her into my arms. "Mommy!" she sobbed, her voice muffled against my shoulder. Aunt Claire said she'd be right back, but she didn't come. The guard, a burly man with kind eyes, explained that a shopper had found Lily wandering alone near the parking lot. She said her aunt told her to wait by the fountain, he said, his voice heavy with disapproval. "We've been trying to reach you. My phone, dead from hours of troubleshooting at work, had betrayed me." Guilt clawed at my chest, but rage burned hotter. Claire. Where the hell was she? I called her, my hands shaking as I dialed. No answer. I texted, my thumbs slamming the screen. "Where are you? You left Lily alone?" Nothing. The silence was deafening. A void filled only by Lily's soft whimpers and the guard's awkward cough. I thanked him, hoisted Lily onto my hip, and stormed to my car, my mind racing. Claire had always been reckless, but this was unforgivable. At home, I tucked Lily into bed, her small body curled under the covers, still clutching her bear. "Why did Aunt Claire leave me, Mommy?" she asked, her voice so small it broke me. I brushed her dark curls from her face, forcing a smile. "She just made a mistake, sweetheart. You're safe now." But the lie tasted bitter. Claire hadn't just made a mistake. She'd chosen spite over my daughter's safety. I sat in the living room, the clock ticking past midnight, when my phone finally buzzed. Claire. Her text was a single line. "Chill, Emma. She's fine, isn't she?" My blood boiled. I called her again, and this time, she picked up, her voice dripping with defiance. "What's the big deal? I had to meet someone. Lily was fine for like 20 minutes. 20 minutes? I hissed, gripping the phone so hard my knuckles whitened. "She's 6, Claire. You left her outside a mall. What were you thinking?" "I was thinking you owe me," she snapped. "I asked you for help with my boutique, and you shut me down. I had to meet an investor, Emma. You left me no choice." The audacity stole my breath. A week ago, Claire had pitched her latest business idea, a high-end clothing boutique she swore would make her a millionaire. She'd asked for $10,000. Money I didn't have, not with a mortgage, Lily's school fees, and my husband Mark's medical bills piling up after his accident last year. I told her no, gently at first, then firmly when she pushed. "You're selfish," she'd spat then, and now this was her revenge. "You endangered my daughter over money?" I said, my voice low, trembling with fury. "You're done, Claire. Done." She laughed, a sharp, brittle sound. "Oh, please, you're so dramatic. Lily's fine, and I'm not the bad guy here. You are." I hung up, my hands shaking. The room felt too small, the air too thick. Claire had always been impulsive, chasing dreams she never saw through. Art school, a food truck, a travel blog, all abandoned when the shine wore off. But this wasn't a failed Etsy shop. This was my daughter's life. I paced, my mind spiraling. How had it come to this? Growing up, Claire and I had been close, sharing secrets and dreams in our cramped childhood bedroom. But somewhere along the way, her envy had grown like a weed, strangling our bond. My stable job, my family, my life. She resented it all, as if my happiness diminished hers. Mark stirred from the couch, his crutches leaning against the armrest. "What's going on?" he asked, his voice groggy but laced with concern. I told him everything, the words spilling out like poison. His face darkened, his jaw tight. "She's crossed a line, Emma. You can't let this slide." "I won't," I said, my resolve hardening. Claire thought she could hurt my daughter and walk away unscathed. She was wrong. I didn't know how yet, but I'd make her face the consequences. Not out of spite, but to protect my family. Because if I let this go, what would she do next? The next morning, I called my best friend, Sarah, a family lawyer with a heart of steel. "I need advice," I said, my voice steady despite the storm inside. "Claire left Lily alone at the mall. I want to know my options." Sarah's silence was heavy, but when she spoke, her tone was all business. "That's child endangerment, Emma. You could press charges. At the very least, you need to keep her away from Lily. Document everything, texts, timestamps, the guard's statement." "I'll help you." I nodded, though she couldn't see me. Document everything. That was step one. But as I hung up, I knew this wasn't just about legal consequences. This was about confronting Claire, forcing her to see the damage she'd caused. She'd always dodged accountability, but not this time. I'd make sure of it. I spent the next day piecing together evidence like a detective in a nightmare I couldn't wake from. Lily's tear-streaked face haunted me, her question, "Why did Aunt Claire leave me, Mommy?" looping in my mind like a broken record. I wasn't just angry, I was resolute. Claire's recklessness had to stop, and I'd be the one to stop it. First, I contacted the mall's security office. The guard from last night, Tom, was still on shift. His voice was gentle but firm as he recounted finding Lily, her small frame shivering by the fountain, clutching her bear like a lifeline. She kept saying her aunt would come back, he told me, and my stomach twisted. He emailed me the incident report, complete with timestamps and a grainy photo from the security camera. Lily, alone, dwarfed by the crowd. I saved it, my hands trembling. Evidence. Next, I scrolled through my texts with Claire. Her flippant chill, "Emma, she's fine, isn't she?" stared back at me, a digital confession of her indifference. I screenshot everything, including my unanswered calls from the night before. Sarah had warned me to build a case, and I was meticulous. Every detail mattered. Mark watched me from the kitchen table, his crutches propped nearby. "You're doing the right thing," he said, his voice steady despite the exhaustion in his eyes. His accident, a construction site fall that fractured his leg, had left him sidelined, unable to work, and Claire's betrayal felt like a blow to us both. "She's always been jealous of you," he added. "This isn't new, Emma. It's just worse." He was right. Claire's envy had simmered for years. When I got my IT degree, she'd called it boring. When Mark and I bought our house, she'd scoffed, saying we were tied down. When Lily was born, she'd cooed over her niece but later whispered to me, "You're lucky, Emma. You got it all." I'd brushed it off then, chalking it up to her free-spirited nature. But now, I saw it for what it was, resentment, festering into something dangerous. I called Claire again, not expecting her to answer. To my surprise, she did, her voice sharp. "What now, Emma? You're still mad." "Mad doesn't cover it," I said, keeping my tone even. "You left my daughter alone in a parking lot. I'm done with your excuses. Meet me tomorrow, 10 a.m., at the coffee shop on Elm Street. We're talking this out." She snorted. "You're blowing this out of proportion. I'm busy tomorrow." "Then make time," I snapped. "Or I'll make sure everyone knows what you did, Mom, Dad, your so-called investors. Everyone." I hung up before she could respond, my heart pounding. Threatening her felt wrong, like sinking to her level, but I needed her to show up. I needed her to face me. The next morning, I left Lily with Mark and drove to the coffee shop. My hands gripped the steering wheel, my mind rehearsing what I'd say. I wasn't just fighting for Lily, I was fighting for the sister I'd lost, the one who used to braid my hair and share her dreams. Could I reach her, or was she too far gone? Claire was already there, slouched in a corner booth, her blonde hair pulled into a messy bun. She looked younger than her 28 years, but her eyes were hard, defiant. "So, what's this? Your big intervention?" she said, sipping her latte. I sat across from her, my voice low but firm. "You left Lily alone at a mall, Claire. She's 6. She was terrified. Do you even care?" Her jaw tightened, but she didn't look away. "I told you I had to meet an investor. It was a big deal, Emma. You wouldn't understand. You've got your perfect life, your perfect kid. I'm trying to build something." "Build something?" I leaned forward, my voice shaking. "You endangered my daughter because I wouldn't give you $10,000. That's not ambition. That's spite." She flinched, but only for a moment. "You always think you're better than me," she said, her voice rising. "You with your job, your house, your family. You could have helped me, but you chose not to. So yeah, I was pissed. I made a bad call. Sue me." I stared at her, the sister I barely recognized. "A bad call? Claire, you could have lost her. Someone could have taken her. Do you get that?" She rolled her eyes, but her hands fidgeted with her cup. "She's fine, Emma. You're making a mountain out of a molehill." I pulled out my phone and slid it across the table, the security photo of Lily glowing on the screen. "Look at her," I said. "Look at what you did." Claire's eyes flickered to the image, and for the first time, I saw a crack in her armor, a fleeting shadow of guilt. But she pushed the phone back. I said, "I'm sorry. Okay? What do you want from me?" "I want you to take responsibility," I said. "And I want you to stay away from Lily until you do." Her face hardened. "You can't keep me from her. She's my niece." "Watch me," I said, standing. "You crossed a line, Claire. Fix yourself or you're out of our lives." I walked out, my heart heavy but my resolve unshaken. Claire's defiance wasn't new, but her cruelty was. I'd given her chances, excused her flaws, but no more. Lily deserved better. We all did. Back home, I found Lily coloring at the kitchen table, her small tongue poking out in concentration. "Mommy, is Aunt Claire mad at me?" she asked, her crayon pausing. "No, baby," I said, kneeling beside her. "Aunt Claire made a mistake, but it's not your fault. You're perfect." She smiled, but her eyes were wary, and that broke me all over again. Claire's actions had stolen something from Lily, her trust, her sense of safety. I hugged her tightly, vowing to protect her, no matter the cost. That night, I emailed Sarah the evidence, texts, the security report, the photo. "What's next?" I asked. Her reply was swift. "File a restraining order. It's not just about punishment, Emma. It's about keeping Lily safe." I stared at the screen, the weight of it sinking in. A restraining order against my own sister. Felt like cutting out a piece of my heart, but I'd do it. For Lily. For us. The decision to file a restraining order against Claire felt like carving my own skin. She was my sister, my blood, the girl who'd once shared my secrets under the glow of a flashlight. But the image of Lily, alone and terrified, burned brighter than any memory, and I knew I had no choice. Sarah walked me through the process, her voice calm but unyielding. "You'll need to file a petition with the court," she explained over coffee, her legal pad scribbled with notes. "Detail what happened, include the evidence, and request temporary protection for Lily. It's straightforward, but it won't be easy, Emma. She's family." I nodded, my throat tight. "I know, but Lily comes first." Back home, I sat at my desk, drafting the petition. Each word felt like a brick in a wall I was building between me and Claire. On September 17, 2025, my sister, Claire Thompson, left my 6-year-old daughter, Lily, unattended outside a mall. The sentences flowed, cold and factual, but my hands shook as I typed. This wasn't just about protecting Lily. It was about admitting that Claire, the sister I'd loved and defended, was capable of something monstrous. Mark read over my shoulder, his presence a quiet anchor. "You're doing the right thing," he said, squeezing my shoulder. "But you need to tell your parents. They'll hear about it eventually." My parents. The thought made my stomach lurch. Mom and Dad had always babied Claire, excusing her impulsiveness as spirit. They'd bailed her out of debts, cheered her half-baked dreams, and turned a blind eye to her flaws. Telling them I was taking legal action against her felt like betraying the family. But Mark was right, they deserved to know. I called Mom first, bracing for her reaction. "Emma, what's this about Claire and Lily?" She answered, her voice sharp with worry. I'd barely mentioned the incident before she cut in. "She didn't mean it, sweetheart. Claire's just passionate. You know how she is." "Passionate?" I snapped, my patience fraying. "She left Lily alone at a mall, Mom. She was gone for 20 minutes. Anything could have happened." Mom's silence was heavy, but then she sighed. "She told me she had to meet someone important. She feels awful, Emma. Can't you talk to her?" "I tried," I said, my voice cracking. "She doesn't care, Mom. She thinks it's my fault for not giving her money." Dad got on the line, his voice gruff. "Emma, you're blowing this out of proportion. Claire's not perfect, but she loves Lily. You don't need to make this a legal thing." Their denial stung, but it wasn't unexpected. They'd always seen Claire as the dreamer, me as the practical one. I was supposed to fix things, not break them. "I'm protecting my daughter," I said firmly. "If you can't support that, we have nothing to talk about." I hung up, tears burning my eyes. Mark pulled me into his arms, his crutches clattering to the floor. "They'll come around," he whispered. "Or they won't. But you're not alone." The next day, I filed the petition at the courthouse, my heart pounding as I handed over the documents. The clerk, a tired woman with kind eyes, scanned the pages. "You'll hear about the hearing soon," she said. "Temporary order should be granted within days if the judge sees cause." Driving home, I felt both lighter and heavier. Lighter because I'd taken action. Heavier because I'd crossed a line I could never uncross. Claire would be served papers soon, and there'd be no going back. That evening, Claire called, her voice a mix of fury and disbelief. "A restraining order? Are you serious, Emma? You're trying to ruin my life." "You ruined your own life," I said, my voice steady despite the ache in my chest. "You left my daughter in danger. I'm making sure it never happens again." "You're such a hypocrite," she spat. "You act like you're perfect, but you're just controlling. You've always hated that I'm not like you." "This isn't about me," I said. "It's about Lily. You hurt her, Claire, and you don't even see it." She hung up, and the silence felt final. I sat on the couch, staring at a photo of us as kids. Claire grinning, me with my arm around her. How had we gotten here? Lily's voice broke my thoughts. "Mommy, can I sleep with you tonight?" she asked, standing in her pajamas, her bear dangling from one hand. I scooped her up, her warmth grounding me. "Of course, baby," I said, kissing her forehead. "Always." As we lay in bed, her small body curled against mine, I realized this wasn't just about Claire's betrayal. It was about the kind of mother I wanted to be, fierce, protective, unwavering. Claire's actions had forced me to draw a line, but they'd also shown me my own strength. The hearing was scheduled for a week later. Sarah prepped me, warning that Claire might fight back. "She could claim you're overreacting," she said. "Be ready to stay calm. Stick to the facts." I nodded, but my mind wandered to Claire's investor. Who was this person she ditched Lily for? I did some digging, pulling up her social media. Her recent posts were all about her boutique, with photos of her at a sleek downtown office. shaking hands with a man in a suit. The caption read, "Big things coming. Thank you, Mr. Carter, for believing in me." Carter. The name rang a bell. Mark's old colleague, James Carter, was a venture capitalist with a reputation for flashy promises and shady deals. Was Claire mixed up with him? The thought made my skin crawl. If she was desperate enough to abandon Lily, what else was she capable of? I texted Sarah. "Can we look into Claire's investor? I think he's trouble." Her reply was quick. "Send me his name. I'll check him out. Stay focused on the hearing." I tried, but doubt crept in. Was I doing the right thing? Or was I tearing my family apart? Claire's words echoed, "You're controlling," and for a moment, I wavered. But then I looked at Lily, asleep beside me, and my resolve hardened. This wasn't about control. It was about love. The courtroom smelled of polished wood and stale coffee, a sterile backdrop to the chaos of my emotions. I sat beside Sarah, my hands clasped tightly, as the judge reviewed the petition. Claire wasn't there. She'd been served the papers but hadn't shown up. Her absence felt like another slap, proof she cared more about her pride than facing the consequences. Sarah leaned over, whispering, "This is good for us. If she doesn't contest, the temporary order will likely be granted." I nodded, but my heart wasn't in it. I didn't want a victory. I wanted my sister to care enough to show up. The judge, a stern woman with gray-streaked hair, called my name. I stood, my voice steady as I recounted the night Claire left Lily at the mall. I presented the evidence, the security report, the photo, the texts. Each word felt like a nail in the coffin of our relationship, but I kept going. For Lily. The judge's face remained impassive, but her eyes softened when I described Lily's fear, her small voice asking why her aunt had left her. The hearing was over in 20 minutes. The judge granted the temporary restraining order, barring Claire from contacting Lily or coming within 100 yards of her. "You've provided sufficient evidence of endangerment," she said. "A permanent order will be considered at the next hearing in 30 days. I thanked her, my voice hollow. It was what I wanted, but it felt like losing. Outside, Sarah squeezed my arm. "You did well, Emma. This protects Lily." "Then why do I feel like I've betrayed her?" I asked, tears stinging my eyes. Sarah's expression softened. "Because she's your sister. But you're not the one who broke this, she did." At home, Lily was playing in the backyard, her laughter a stark contrast to the weight in my chest. Mark joined me on the porch, his crutches tapping softly. "It's done?" he asked. I nodded. Temporary orders in place. She didn't even show up. He sighed, pulling me close. "She's making her choices, Emma. You're making yours." I wanted to believe him, but guilt gnawed at me. Had I pushed Claire too far? Was there a way to fix this without a courtroom? I shook my head, banishing the thoughts. Lily's safety wasn't negotiable. That night, I checked Claire's social media again, driven by a nagging need to understand her. Her latest post was a selfie at a rooftop bar, her smile forced, captioned, "Living my truth." No mention of Lily, no hint of remorse. But there was another photo with James Carter, the investor. They were toasting, his hand on her shoulder, her eyes bright with ambition. My unease grew. Carter's reputation was murky, rumors of fraud, shady investments. Was Claire in over her head? I called Sarah, my voice urgent. "I think Claire's investor is James Carter. Can you dig into him?" "I'm on it," she said. "Give me a couple of days." 2 days later, Sarah called with news. "James Carter's bad news, Emma. He's been investigated for fraud twice, though nothing stuck. He preys on desperate entrepreneurs, promising big returns for upfront cash. Claire's probably one of his marks." My heart sank. Claire was reckless, but she wasn't stupid. If Carter was manipulating her, it explained her desperation, but not her choice to abandon Lily. "What do I do?" I asked. "Nothing yet," Sarah said. "Focus on the hearing. If the Carters involved, it could complicate things. We don't want her spinning this as you sabotaging her business. I agreed, but the thought of Claire caught in Carter's web gnawed at me. Part of me wanted to save her, to pull her back from the edge. But another part, the part that saw Lily's terrified face, knew she had to face the consequences first. The next week was a blur of routine and tension. Lily went back to school, her smile brighter but still fragile. I kept her close, avoiding places Claire might show up. My parents called daily, pleading for me to drop the order. "She's sorry, Emma," Mom said. "She's just lost right now. Then she needs to find herself without hurting my daughter," I replied, hanging up. Their loyalty to Claire felt like a betrayal, but I couldn't dwell on it. Lily needed me whole. One night, as I tucked Lily into bed, she asked, "Will Aunt Claire ever come back?" I hesitated, choosing my words carefully. "Maybe one day, sweetheart, but only if she learns to make good choices." Lily nodded, her eyes heavy with sleep. "I miss her," she whispered. "I know," I said, my heart breaking. "I miss her too." The next morning, a letter arrived, hand-delivered to my mailbox. Claire's handwriting. My hands trembled as I opened it. "Emma, you think you're protecting Lily, but you're just punishing me. I'm not the monster you're making me out to be. I'm trying to build a future, something you've never understood. You'll regret this." No apology, no remorse, just blame. I crumpled the letter, anger flaring. She still didn't get it. But as I tossed it in the trash, a small part of me wondered if she was right. Was I punishing her? The doubt lingered, but Lily's face, tear-streaked, alone at the mall, pushed it away. Sarah called that afternoon. "I've got more on Carter," she said. "He's meeting Claire tomorrow at his office. I think she's about to hand over money she doesn't have." My stomach dropped. Claire was spiraling, and while I wanted to let her crash, I couldn't shake the image of her as a kid, trusting me to protect her. "Can we stop her?" I asked. "Maybe," Sarah said, "but it's risky. If you confront her, she'll double down. Let me handle it, discreetly." I agreed, but my mind raced. Claire was digging her own grave, but I couldn't let her drag Lily down with her. The permanent hearing was looming, and I had to stay focused. But the thought of Claire, lost in her own ambition, tugged at me. Could I save her without sacrificing my daughter? The morning sun streamed through the kitchen window, but it did little to warm the chill in my bones. Claire's letter lay crumpled in the trash, but its words echoed in my mind. "You'll regret this." I wanted to believe she was just lashing out, but the threat felt real, a shadow over the fragile peace I was trying to rebuild for Lily. Sarah's plan to investigate James Carter was in motion, but she'd warned me to stay out of it. "Let me handle Carter," she'd said. "You focus on the hearing." Easier said than done. The thought of Claire sinking deeper into Carter's scheme gnawed at me, a mix of pity and fury. She'd hurt Lily, but she was still my sister, and the idea of her being swindled felt like another betrayal of the girl she used to be. I dropped Lily off at school, her small hand squeezing mine before she ran to join her friends. Her smile was brighter, but I saw the hesitation in her eyes, the lingering scar of Claire's abandonment. I drove to work, my mind split between coding servers and planning my testimony for the permanent restraining order. Sarah had coached me. Stick to the facts, show the evidence, don't let emotion take over. But how could I not? This was my daughter, my family, my heart. At lunch, I checked my phone and found a missed call from Mom. Her voicemail was tearful, pleading. "Emma, please. Claire's a mess. She told me about the restraining order. Can't you give her another chance?" I deleted it, my chest tight. Mom's loyalty to Claire was unwavering, but it blinded her to the truth. I couldn't afford to waver, not now. That afternoon, Sarah called with an update. "Carter's meeting with Claire was a bust," she said. "I had a contact tip off his office about an audit. He canceled on her, but she's still chasing him. She's desperate, Emma. She's borrowed money, bad money. Borrowed. My heart sank. From who? Loan sharks, probably, Sarah said. Small-time lenders who prey on people like her. She's in deep, and she's not thinking straight. I closed my eyes, picturing Claire's defiant face at the coffee shop. She'd always been reckless, but this was a new low. Can we stop her? I asked. Not without proof, Sarah said. And even then, she's an adult. You can't force her to listen. Focus on Lily. The hearings in 5 days. I hung up, my mind racing. Claire was spiraling, but I couldn't save her. Not when she'd endangered my daughter. Still, the thought of her drowning in debt, manipulated by Carter, tugged at me. I pushed it aside, focusing on Lily. She was my priority, not Claire's self-inflicted wounds. That evening, Mark and I sat down with Lily to talk. She deserved to understand in a way a 6-year-old could grasp. Sweetheart, I said, holding her hands. Aunt Claire made a big mistake, and we're making sure she doesn't do it again. That's why she can't see you for a while. Lily's brow furrowed. But she's my aunt. Don't you love her anymore? The question hit like a punch. I'll always love her, I said, my voice cracking. But sometimes, love means setting rules to keep people safe. Like how I keep you safe. She nodded, but her eyes were distant. I hugged her, wishing I could shield her from the mess of adult mistakes. Mark chimed in, his voice gentle. We're a team, Lily. You, me, and Mommy. We've got this. She smiled, and for a moment I believed we did. The next day, I got a text from an unknown number. You're ruining her life, Emma. Back off. My blood ran cold. Was it Carter? One of Claire's lenders? I forwarded it to Sarah, who replied immediately. Save it. Could be useful for the hearing. I tried to focus on work, but the text haunted me. Claire was in deeper than I'd thought, and now someone else was involved. I called her, my anger overriding my caution. Who's threatening me, Claire? I demanded when she answered. What are you talking about? She snapped, but her voice wavered. Someone texted me, telling me to back off. Is this your doing? She laughed, bitter and hollow. You're paranoid, Emma. I don't need to threaten you. You're already tearing us apart. Then who's Carter working with? I pressed. Who'd you borrow money from? Silence. Then, you don't get to judge me. I'm doing what I have to. She hung up, and I stared at the phone, my heart pounding. She was scared. I'd heard it in her voice. But fear didn't excuse what she'd done to Lily. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying our childhood. Claire's laughter, her wild dreams, the way she'd clung to me when Dad yelled. I wanted to save her, but every step she took pulled her further away. Mark found me on the couch at 2 a.m., staring at old photos. You can't fix her, he said softly. Not if she doesn't want it. I know, I whispered, but I have to try. The next morning, I drove to Claire's apartment, unannounced. I hadn't been there in months, and the sight of her cluttered, chaotic space hit me hard. She opened the door, her face pale, eyes red. What do you want? She asked, her voice flat. I want you to stop, I said. Carter's using you, Claire. You're in over your head. Let me help you. Her laugh was sharp, cutting. Help me? Like you helped by slapping me with a restraining order? Get out, Emma. I stood my ground. I'm not leaving until you listen. You're my sister. I don't want to see you destroyed. For a moment, her eyes softened, and I saw the Claire I used to know. But then she shut the door, and the lock clicked. I stood there, tears falling, knowing I'd lost her. For now. The days before the permanent restraining order hearing felt like walking a tightrope over a pit of my own doubts. Claire's rejection at her apartment stung, but it also clarified something. She wasn't just reckless. She was lost, chasing a dream that was dragging her under. Yet every time I wavered, picturing her tearful eyes, I saw Lily's frightened face at the mall, and my resolve snapped back into place. Sarah's investigation into James Carter yielded more dirt. He'd been linked to a string of failed startups, each one leaving desperate entrepreneurs in debt. Claire's not his first victim, Sarah said over the phone. She's probably given him money already, maybe borrowed from the wrong people. We need to be careful. Careful how? I asked, my stomach nodding. If she's in debt to dangerous people, they might see you as a target, especially with that text you got. Stay vigilant, Emma. Vigilant. The word felt heavy, like a weight I'd carry forever. I double-checked the locks each night, kept Lily close, and watched for unfamiliar cars outside our house. Mark noticed my tension, his brow furrowing. You're scaring yourself, he said, but his voice lacked conviction. He felt it too, the shadow of Claire's choices creeping closer. The night before the hearing, I sat down with Lily to prepare her. The judge might want to speak with her, Sarah had warned, and I needed her to feel safe. Sweetheart, I said, brushing her curls. Tomorrow, we're going to talk to someone important about what happened with Aunt Claire. You just tell the truth. Okay? She nodded, her eyes wide. Will Aunt Claire be there? Maybe, I said, hating the uncertainty. But I'll be with you. Always. The hearing was held in the same sterile courtroom, but this time, Claire was there. She sat across the room, her blonde hair pulled back, her face pale but defiant. Our eyes met, and for a moment, I saw the sister I loved, vulnerable, scared. Then she looked away, and the moment shattered. Sarah presented our case, her voice steady as she laid out the evidence. The security report, the photo of Lily alone, Claire's texts. I testified, my voice trembling but clear, recounting Lily's fear and Claire's indifference. When it was Claire's turn, she stood, her hands fidgeting. I made a mistake, she said, her voice soft but rehearsed. I love my niece. I'd never hurt her. Emma's blowing this out of proportion because she's always resented my ambition. The words stung, but I kept my face neutral as Sarah had instructed. The judge's eyes narrowed. Ms. Thompson, you left a 6-year-old unattended in a public place for 20 minutes. Do you understand the severity of that? Claire's jaw tightened. It was a mistake. I was meeting an investor for my business. I thought she'd be fine. The judge's expression didn't soften. Your intentions don't erase the risk. Do you have anything else to add? Claire glanced at me, her eyes flashing with anger, then shook her head. The judge called Lily next, and my heart clenched as my daughter took the stand, her small hands clutching her bear. She spoke quietly, her voice trembling. Aunt Claire told me to wait by the fountain. I was scared. I thought she wasn't coming back. The room was silent, the weight of her words crushing. Claire's face crumpled, and for the first time, I saw real guilt in her eyes. But it was too late. The judge granted the permanent restraining order, barring Claire from contact with Lily for a year, with a review to follow. Ms. Thompson, she said to Claire, I recommend you seek counseling. Your actions endangered a child, and that cannot be excused. Claire left without a word, her shoulders slumped. I wanted to run after her, to shake her, to hug her, but I stayed rooted, Lily's hand in mine. Sarah squeezed my shoulder. You did what you had to. But the victory felt hollow. I'd protected Lily, but I'd lost my sister, maybe forever. That night, I got a call from an unknown number. A man's voice, low and menacing. Drop the order, or you'll regret it. Before I could respond, the line went dead. My hands shook as I called Sarah, forwarding the number. It's connected to Carter, she said after a quick check. He's got ties to some rough people. I'm calling the police. The police took a report, but without more evidence, there was little they could do. Keep your doors locked, the officer said. We'll patrol your street. It wasn't enough, but it was all I had. I didn't sleep that night, my mind racing. Claire was in deeper than I'd thought, tangled with people who didn't play games. I wanted to hate her, but pity crept in. She was drowning and I couldn't throw her a lifeline. Not yet. The next day, I found a note slipped under my door. Claire's handwriting again. I'm sorry, Emma. I didn't mean for this. Help me. My heart stopped. Was it a trick? A plea? I called Sarah, who was skeptical. It could be manipulation, she said. But if it's real, we need to act fast. Meet her somewhere public. Record everything. I texted Claire, proposing a meeting at the park near our house. She agreed, and I felt a flicker of hope. Maybe I could reach her. Maybe I could save her without risking Lily. But as I prepared, doubt gnawed at me. Claire had betrayed us once. Could I trust her now? The park was quiet, the late afternoon sun casting long shadows across the grass. I sat on a bench, my phone recording in my pocket, my heart a tangle of hope and fear. Claire's note, I'm sorry, Emma. Help me, had cracked open a door I thought was sealed shut. But trust was a fragile thing, and I wasn't here to save her blindly. I was here for answers, for Lily, and maybe, just maybe, for the sister I still loved. Claire arrived 10 minutes late, her blonde hair disheveled, her eyes bloodshot. She looked smaller, like the weight of her choices had finally caught up. You came, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. You asked for help? I said, keeping my tone neutral. What's going on, Claire? She sat, her hands twisting in her lap. I screwed up, Emma. Not just with Lily, with everything. Carter, he's not what I thought. He took my money, promised investors, but it's all a lie. And now I owe people, bad people. My stomach twisted, Sarah's warnings echoing. How much do you owe? 20,000, she said, her voice breaking. I borrowed it for the boutique. They're threatening me, Emma. They know about you, about Lily. The threatening text, the call, they made sense now. You brought this to my family, I said, my voice shaking with anger. You left Lily at a mall. And now you've got criminals targeting us? I didn't mean to, she cried, tears spilling. I thought I could fix it. I thought if I got the business going, I'd pay them back. I was wrong. I wanted to scream, to shake her, but her brokenness stopped me. This was Claire. My sister, not a monster. Why didn't you tell me? I asked. Before it got this bad? Because you always judge me, she said, her voice raw. You're the perfect one, Emma. I wanted to prove I could do something on my own. Her words cut deep, but I pushed past them. You endangered Lily. That's not about me. That's about you. But I'm here now. What do you need? She looked at me, hope flickering in her eyes. Help me get out. I'll do anything, counseling, whatever you want. Just don't let them hurt me. I nodded, my mind racing. I'll help, but you follow my rules. No contact with Carter, no more lies. And you stay away from Lily until I say otherwise. She agreed, and for the first time I saw sincerity in her eyes. I called Sarah, who arranged a meeting with a detective specializing in financial crimes. Claire spilled everything, Carter's promises, the loan sharks, the threats. The detective was blunt. We can build a case against Carter, but you'll need to testify, Claire. And those lenders, they're dangerous. We'll get you protection, but you have to cooperate. Claire nodded, tears streaming. I will. I just want this to be over. The next weeks were a whirlwind. Claire moved in with our parents under strict supervision, while the police investigated Carter. They arrested him on fraud charges, thanks to Claire's testimony and Sarah's evidence. The loan sharks were harder to pin down, but the police increased patrols around our house, and the threats stopped. Claire started counseling as promised. At her first session, she asked me to come. I need you to understand, she said. We sat in a small office, the therapist guiding us through years of resentment. Claire admitted her jealousy, her fear of never measuring up. I admitted my guilt, my failure to see how lost she'd been. It wasn't forgiveness, not yet, but it was a start. Lily took longer to heal. She asked about Claire less. Her trust fractured, but I worked to rebuild her world, filling it with love and safety. One day, she drew a picture of our family, me, Mark, her, and a small figure in the corner. That's Aunt Claire, she said. She's far away, but maybe she'll come back. Maybe. I said, my heart aching. When she's ready. Months later, Claire sent me a letter. Not a note slipped under the door, but a proper letter, mailed from her new apartment. I'm getting better, Emma. I'm working, saving, trying to make things right. I know I hurt Lily, and I'll spend my life making up for it. Thank you for not giving up on me. I read it alone, tears falling. The restraining order was still in place, but I petitioned to modify it, allowing supervised visits with Lily when Claire was stable. It wasn't a fairy tale ending. Trust would take years to rebuild, but it was hope, fragile and real. One evening, as I tucked Lily into bed, she asked, Mommy, do people change? I thought of Claire's tearful eyes, her small steps toward redemption. Sometimes, I said, when they really want to. She smiled, hugging her bear. I hope Aunt Claire does. Me too, I whispered, kissing her forehead. And for the first time in months, I believed it was possible.